Hey guys, I hope you're all well. This is Seb coming in with another art talk video, and I want to talk about that. I'm going to start this whole thing off with a story. I'm going to talk about me and my friends hanging out, and this was a while ago. I remember I actually invited some people to the place where I was living. I had a free house, so naturally it was a perfect idea to get some friends around and just talk about some stuff and, drink, watch some Shrek, explore some memes. I don't know. Those are kind of the things we used to do. And I remember me and this friend, I hope if he's listening, he'll know, his name's Kai. We were talking outside, and I remember telling him how happy I was for him, and how much I was impressed with the fact that he's already got this high earning job. Now, at this point I think it was still uni. Yeah, it must have been uni, because it wasn't that long ago. And I was telling him how impressed I was with all that he's achieved already, like how he's always been great at interviews and he's always landed these really cool jobs. And I was telling him all this, saying how I feel like I'm really behind, and I haven't got anywhere near as far as that, and I'm here paying for education and going to uni and everything, and I just felt really behind. And at that point of uni, I didn't really know what I was doing either. I was doing the industrial design, but I didn't feel like I knew that that's what I wanted. So I remember us talking, and he told me the complete opposite. He told me that he looks up to me. I can't remember the exact words, but it wasn't probably that he looks up to me, but he said that he found it awesome that I was trying to do something of my own, and he found it so cool that I was trying to go through this path of creating art and doing all this other stuff like that, and trying to do YouTube and all that. I think at that time I'd posted a couple videos, and I've always wanted to do something like that. I've done a bit of streaming then as well. And he just told me that it felt so cool that I was trying to do something that I'm actually passionate about and trying to focus on something like that. And I hope he remembers this conversation, but it meant a lot to me, especially at that time. It was kind of like a message to me to stop comparing myself to other people. It's that's the whole premise of today's video, is that comparison is the thief of joy. It's a quote that I've heard multiple times in different places, but it never stuck to me as a quote. It kind of stuck to me then when I had that conversation with my friend, and I don't know if he still remembers it, but I know it meant a lot to me. And it was at that point where I started kind of relaxing a little bit. Not to the point where relaxing, I wasn't doing anything, although at that time I was still very much preoccupied on playing games and not really knowing what to do. But at that point I kind of tried to stop the comparison part. I tried to kind of relax on that end. And I want to talk about it today because overall it's come back, right? I still do it, and we all do it. Comparison is my biggest issue when it comes to anything I do, when it comes to this YouTube stuff, when it comes to art, when it comes to when I was making beats as well. And I know I shouldn't compare myself to people because everyone has their own journey. That's this whole thing. Everyone finds their own path eventually. But it's my biggest issue, and anytime I see that I'm doing good in something, I will look for someone to compare to, and then everything will start going downhill, and everything else suffers because I'm comparing myself to other things. And why does that happen? Well, it's simply because we're not putting in that needed energy into learning more and developing our craft more, but instead we're putting it into trying to figure out why we're not doing as good as the other person. why we're not doing as good as, I don't know, PewDiePie as a YouTuber. Why am I not doing as good as that? Or Mr. Beast, massive YouTuber. Why am I not doing as good as him? It's easy to say that, but maybe it's because he's not comparing himself to everyone else and he's just trying to become better at his craft all the time. And I know that's not the perfect example here for us artists, but it's just comparing yourself to anyone or anything will constantly ruin your happiness, and it will impact your drive too, I think. It definitely has worked on mine in a negative way. And I want to get out of this cycle of constantly trying to find someone to compare myself to. Because I'll start comparing myself to people that have nothing to do with what I'm doing. Like, I'll find a YouTuber that likes EDC and I'll start comparing my channel to it. And I don't understand why I do it. But this, and if you guys want to know, this episode is kind of dedicated to myself too. I want to just talk about this whole thing because I know it's an issue for me. And I hope that it strikes some of you as well to maybe start thinking less about comparing yourself to anyone else other than yourself yesterday, let's say. So, yeah. And next, let's move on to the next point because, in general, I wanted to get out there that I do struggle with this comparison. And I hope that you guys don't struggle with it either, but maybe you listening to this video, you might find some guidance a little bit at least. So after like the whole comparison thing with my friends and everything, I tried a lot of different paths, and I always came back to art, and art has always stuck with me for the longest. So I think I'm definitely doing the right thing now, but I just gotta kind of calm down with the comparing. Now, I also want to talk about the path as an artist. So kind of going back to what I was talking about in the story, how this stuff will take time. It will take a long time for you, as anyone who's trying to do something creative, who's trying to break through the mold, because there's so many of us, and you have to stand out to get noticed. At least you have to stand out at least a little bit, and don't be discouraged, because it does usually just have to be that little bit that you differentiate yourself from others. But you have to stand out, and you have to break through, and you have to keep working on your goals, and you have to keep trying to achieve that thing and trying to become better as an artist or better as a content creator. But you just have to know that it's a long road. And again, I'm talking to myself here. All this stuff will take a long time, and bursts of times where you start to get noticed by people, or where you really start feeling like your art is as good as it can be, or anything like that. These are bursts, and these are just downhills, right? Downhills as in the terms of me going on a bike, going downhill. That's what it is. It's easy. It's the easy part of life, but then you have to go back uphill, and you have to fight, and you have to keep doing it, because when you reach that steady road at the bottom and you have to start climbing up again and doing the same things again, it's really hard to keep doing it, because you're just sitting there thinking, I was just doing so great, what happened? And you try to compare everything around you to figure out what happened. Reality is life happened, and life constantly happens like that, so you have to keep going, and you have to continue to work on your goals without comparing to anyone else other than yourself yesterday. Again, that's something I'm trying to drill into my own head here. And you have to trust the process. As cliche as that whole sentence is, you really just have to put your trust in the process and in the time that eventually it will pay off. I was reading this book. I haven't finished it, unfortunately, yet, but it was it The Millionaire Fastlane? Or yeah, it was The Millionaire Fastlane. And in there he was talking about a concept with a gumball machine, And imagine you have a gumball machine of all white balls, which are just normal days that pass, day to day. And inside there's maybe one gold ball or two gold balls inside that entire gumball machine. And then there's also a couple red balls. Each time you do something in your life, or each day that passes, you put 50 cents or however much it is for a gumball, you put that in there and you spin it and you get a colored ball. Usually it's a white one, so it's just a normal day that goes by. But the more work you put in, the more art you study, the more videos you put out, the more drawings you create, the more beats you make, the more songs you create, the more streams you do, the more gold balls appear in that that gumball machine. I keep calling it a gold ball machine. The more of those balls start to appear in that machine. Now that doesn't mean that if you put in another 50 cents it will come out as a gold ball, but you've just upped your chance by one more ball. And if you keep doing it, you keep putting in the work, the more of those balls will come in there, and the more opportunities for you to strike gold will appear. If you don't do anything, they won't, and your chances will be much lower. So reality is, all your hard work is you're constantly putting in those gold balls into a lottery, and eventually you will strike gold, because it's inevitable. It's just, it may take time. You have those like insane lucky cases of people that just blow up, but that's very unrealistic. Like genuinely people that will upload a couple videos or something and they'll get noticed, or they'll do something, you know, for the clout, and they'll blow up and then they'll become so famous. Usually those people don't last, but the ones that do, they are really people that put in a lot of effort, I have to say. And life just gave that gold ball earlier to them. And it's awesome to see people like that too. Don't get me wrong. But you just have to keep putting in the work, and more of those balls will appear. And of course there's also the red balls, which are just like life-changing events usually that happen. Sometimes it can be health-related, sometimes family-related. Inevitable things that happen in life that will ultimately set us back. But we have to keep rolling, we have to put in more money, and we have to invest in ourselves, invest in whatever we're doing, and then go on to the next one. So that was my I'd say I'm probably talking about it a little bit too much, but my over-explained version of what he mentioned in the book, and that's also something that stuck with me for a while. I love that analogy that he made there, and every time I make a video or every time I draw something, I tell myself that I'm putting in the work towards that gumball machine. And it's a good feeling when you do that, because there is times where it strikes that gold ball. There is, and it happens, and I can definitely tell you that it will happen to you if you keep putting in the work as well. So let me see, what else have I got written down that we need to talk about? Oh yeah, final point I kind of want to talk about, and this is a very important one for this. I myself am very much attempting to leave social media as much as possible. It's not easy, and I still, come back to it. It's just how I like. I don't want to be that person that just doesn't know what's going on at all, or how social media works or anything. But I've made the effort to delete it off my phone and not go on it as much as possible because of this whole comparison thing. I'm the type of person that needs to be quite extreme with the things I do, so if I want to stop procrastinating on social media, I have to delete it off of my phone, otherwise I will still go on it. I find it hard to have that self-control sometimes, so my best bet is to delete it off my phone. Now, I don't have many social medias on my phone. The only one I do have is YouTube, because it's my favorite platform. I think I've always enjoyed putting stuff on there the most, and I'm not a big fan of short form content. I did have a phase where I was really trying to do that on Instagram, and it was working a little bit, but it's just, I hated the control the algorithm had over any of my content, and I just didn't like the fact that I had to really make specific content for it to work. unless I just wasn't experienced enough, but it wasn't really for me. Maybe I'll give it a go again at some point, but at this moment I'm very happy with YouTube. But it is also something that I keep watching and I keep spending a lot of time on, and I'm also trying to step away from that. And again, it's all for comparison, because as soon as I keep watching these things and as soon as I start comparing myself to all these people, I start to spiral and I start to try and figure out why I'm not doing as well as I'm doing, and why am I not doing as well as those people are doing, and why is my progress not going as fast as them. And that is a big thing of social media, because we all want to compare ourselves to people's highlight reels on anything that we watch. YouTube spews out all the famous videos at the moment, and if you're watching and creating a certain type of content, it will usually push that type of content to you. So I have a lot of videos of people blowing up doing similar things to me, and it's just, as much as I love those videos, and I love them so much to the point where I want to compare my videos to them and make them as good as those videos, which is also a good thing. Don't get me wrong, it's good to compare and improve your work, but it just seems to work the opposite way for me. So I feel like I need to trust my own process, and I need to trust my work that I put in, and know that I need to improve on my own terms without watching these videos and without comparing myself. So that is kind of a big reason why I'm trying to get off social media. And as artists, it's hard to recommend not being on social media, because it is the way to get noticed nowadays. That is how you should, be putting out your work so that people see it, and so you get opportunities coming your way. This is your way of putting gold balls into that gumball machine. So I'm not recommending you guys go off social media completely, but I recommend you take it off of your phone and you use it as a browser thing to put your work out there, and to occasionally check your DMs, because I'm sure if you keep doing that, people will hit you up for work and all these other things. But don't be, disconnected from our times, but be wary and be selective of what you use. I'm trying to do that as much as possible. I used to be on using every single platform, and it kind of just trickled, and I started taking some away. I started realizing that Twitter's not the place for me, and that I just spend and waste too much time on it, so I took it out. TikTok, as much as I really did enjoy watching TikToks, and I did actually learn quite a bit from TikToks, it's still not good. I would spend way too long on there, so that's another change I needed to make, and I tried to make it, and at the moment I haven't had TikTok on my phone for a while. Well, it's been offloaded. Anyways, that's pretty much it. I'm going to wrap up this episode so that it's not too long. I hope you enjoyed the drawing in the background. It was a bit of a weird one, but I figured it would be still good to show it, just for documentation's sake, so that I can see my work out there. Anyway, I hope you really enjoyed this, and I hope that any of this message kind of got to you and made you understand that, hey, I shouldn't be comparing myself to people all the time, and I should trust my own process. So I really do hope you enjoyed it. I hope you got something out of it, and I wish you all happy painting, happy drawing, happy art creation, creativity, whatever you're doing. Just have an awesome day and create some wonderful work. Focus on that, not comparing yourself to others.